Welcome to the Torch of Fantasy Basketball Podcast, Season 2. My name is KE. I also go by Kebabs. 2 years ago in 2019, I started a podcast to win my fantasy league after playing for 10 years, and I did it, but it came with an asterisk, and no one counted it. So I'm back at it again to see if maybe I can collect a second trophy. Follow along as I recap NBA news and provide balanced but nuanced insight into 9-category fantasy basketball. Who knows? Maybe I'll collect another chip. Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Torture Fantasy. Um, it's week 4, and if you guys are here and you guys are sticking with me this long, I appreciate it. Um, it's just some random dude talking on the internet, I guess you're coming back because you appreciate me, or you guys know of something that like some of the things that I've said, and so you guys are here, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you guys. Um, yeah, let's just get started. I'm doing this super late as usual because I am just a chronic procrastinator, and this just what I do. So I'm just get used to it. Starting with just talking about the overall fantasy landscape. Things are kind of peaceful. I want to say on it's in the 10 team league. Everything is kind of evening out. Everything is at least for my 10 team is kind of slowing down, and the people who have like the players that they want aren't really dropping them anymore, and the dust is kind of just kind of petering out. It's kind of settling, and it's kind of nice. And I guess the more we watch these players in the NBA season as it goes on, uh, the more things kind of settle down and become just kind of a balancing. So people who are like going off at the beginning are probably not going to be going off in the beginning, going off any longer. And the law of averages, people who are like kind of suffering, um, based on the rankings, at least based on like preseason, but also just like rankings from the previous year, expected rankings. People who weren't doing so hot at the beginning of the season are probably popping off right now, which is great for you, terrible for this guy because I don't know. I guess I'm just not like entirely happy with how how uh, how some of my players are doing, but it's just the fickle nature of fantasy basketball still. So don't I guess what I'm trying to say is just don't beat yourself up to it too hard over it, you know? Just be peaceful like this turtle that I have here in this picture. Just, sea turtle. Just chill. Um because yeah, again, at the end of the day, all of us have like no control over anything that happens in the NBA landscape. Just like no one had any control over LeBron's elbow touching Isaiah, and all that craziness that ensued. Um, the point of what I'm trying to get to is that though people are either popping off or not, as the dust settles and as things kind of like flatten out, the the stars that rise from these ashes, and who kind of like hold their rankings, that hold you know their status, are probably gonna be the new all stars of our league, and it's kind of good to respect it, and kind of call it out as they happen. So people who probably were hurting last week, people who were owning Jimmy Butler, Jimmy came back, and he's still Jimmy. He's still an elite basketball player, and I hope people haven't forgotten the big man here. Harden, for some strange reason, is making his free throws again, and he's a happy boy. Well, he's getting those free throw calls, and I honestly I don't watch enough of these Nets games. I'm not watching fantasy basketball as much this year, so that could be to my detriment, but we'll see. But yeah, Harden, his free throw percentage is, some games are he's just getting all the calls, and other games he's still getting no calls. It's very confusing. And for me, I personally just I don't really understand if he's finally figured out what the refs want or not, or maybe people are just being way more aggressive. And sometimes when a player is so aggressive that that it's not even a flop anymore, you're kind of just like hurting other people. I think that's when maybe those calls are coming. But I don't exactly know. I'll be honest, I don't watch enough Nets games to be to be the final say in this, but he's getting those calls. So I mean, people, Harden owners are probably feeling themselves right now. And as expected, okay, not as expected, but I last week I was telling you that Tatum was gonna go off, and like I said, he is doing exactly that, and he's finally hitting that like potential that we all expected them to have at the beginning of the season. But at this point, and so if you guys had him, you're probably doing pretty solid. Um, and but I think that this is all besides the point. I think this is old blood. All right, out with the old. Okay, no, we're not taking them out, but we are introducing the new blood, and I think that's very important to talk about. The people who are the cream of the crop, who've rise to the tippity top of our fantasy basketball landscape. Namely LaMelo, the young lad, the Ball brother himself, the new king of swing at the Hornets facilities. LaMelo Ball is kind of wrecking it, and he's showing the league why he deserved the hype and the hype and pomp and what's it pomp and circumstance, all of that. He's deserving all of that coming his way, because the way he's been playing, I don't really see him stopping. I mean, no one wants injury, but unless there's an injury. DeMar DeRozan, surprisingly, um, is on the Bulls, on this fast-paced Bulls team with multiple offensive weapons, is kind of he's kind of found himself a really good role, um, putting up consistent lines, like counting stats all across the board. And I think it's I think it's here to stay. I don't really see like unless in the off games where they'll maybe bench him for rest. I don't really understand um why they wouldn't why he doesn't keep putting up these numbers. Namely because he's I know that injuries can happen to anyone, but he's been as durable as they come over the years. And I'm sure like his offense, his like long pull up twos, that's not gonna change. No. The spacing is fantastic on the Bulls right now. I think everything is just going well in the Bulls. So um yeah, DeMar's really just sucking up that role real well. Who's my third guy? I had someone else who's oh, DeJounte Murray. Absolutely killing it this year. I think he had like a triple double for the past like 3 games already. But yeah, this guy's a certified beast now on the Spurs, and don't really see that stopping. And even with the law of averages, he's playing against some of the like the best teams in the West. Um, yeah, I yeah, I don't see him like slowing down anytime soon. And he's putting these lines up against like every caliber of team. And so I think it's pretty safe to say these three guys are have made their leap and are going to be there for a while, unless barring injury. Okay. Oh, Luca owners, I'm so sorry. I'm personally a Luca owner myself, and if you had Luca this past week, feels bad, man. But hey, KP, Kristaps is doing fantastic, and all you Kristaps owners out there probably feeling good, and as you should. Uh, and oh, let's not talk about waiver juice yet. Let's talk some more about some other players that are doing very well, but I still hold that they're a wait and see. We have Al Horford, who's surprisingly averaging. He's a top 50 player right now, despite the fact that he's. I don't know. His lines aren't like they don't pop off the stat sheet, but it's the lines are good enough to put him in like the top 20 range, which is kind of insane. Um, let's just pull up his 7-day average or 14-day average. Not that it's a good representation, but um, Yeah, he's top 50 in the past for the past 14 days. So maybe kind of a slump. 49%, 71% shooting, 1.4 3 points, uh, 12 and a half points, 7.9 boards, 3.9 assists, one block, one steal. I think those blocks and steals are really holding up his value along with his high field goal percentage, and his low turnover rate. So that is probably why his rank is so high. And he probably had a really good, like a pretty good start to the season, but I think he's a wait and see. I don't really know if he continues this output or they might bench him for the middle parts of the season because it is a long season, um, and players do get hurt. So we'll wait. And then Bobby Portis, I don't really understand. Okay, sorry, I just don't really. I think the Bucks are sitting at like 50%, 50 on the season right now. What is the Bucks' current record? They're sitting at 10-8. Okay, so they're a bit above 50 right now. And right now, without Brolo, though I think Brolo is coming or has already come back. Um, Coming back soon. I don't know if Bobby Portis is going to continue putting up these numbers, but when he is on the court, Bobby Portis is a certified monster, as we saw from the playoffs. And I guess people who picked him up with that expectation is they're kind of feasting right now. He's putting up like 54% from the field on 2.6 threes, 7.5 points, 9 boards, like half a steal and a block with like 2 turnovers. So I mean, if you're for most of these guys like in our leagues, we're probably seeing Bobby just chill on the waivers, and people who picked him up are probably doing reasonably well. They're probably feasting. So yeah, those are just players I don't know. I just don't think they continue the production. So maybe sell high, maybe get some return in value there. Um, and then the last thing, I know Luca is coming back from injury, hopefully whenever. And so people who have Luca are probably suffering right now, especially if you picked him in with your like third round pick. You guys are eating it. That hurts. I didn't pick him. I didn't get. I didn't pick him up third round. I picked him up like really late, mostly because I think my league just doesn't see the free throws suddenly jumping up for Luca. Um, and I think I disagree. I think he's gonna shoot a lot less free throws with the new rules. So we'll see if let's see what his percentages are. He's shooting 4 out of 6 threes. That's like good for like 60. That's like 2/3 of his threes. That's actually not very good. That's like 66%, 67%. That's pretty bad. Hmm. Maybe I was wrong. Who cares? Embiid. Embiid is coming back, and I think I'm personally. So I have Drummond in my league, and I'm personally beating myself up for it, mostly because I had a misstep. I mean, Andre Dre might go back to selling his wings, getting his drummies on the bench, off the bench. But I still think he's gonna put up some stocks here and there and a good amount of boards, which is really all I need him to do with like good field goal percentage, barely any free throws because he's not gonna be shooting that much when he's not on the court without Embiid. So I might hold on to him. I think that's my say on it. I'll hold on to him till I feel like really he's just a complete detriment to my team. But I'm mostly beating myself up because I forgot. I don't know. It was dumb. I like left Drummond on my bench. So here is my like tip to you. Is week 4. I know things are very calm right now, and I know it's easy to just kind of let things go by the wayside. But I implore you to kind of check in on your teams and make sure that the best player available is playing because that's all it takes. All right. Even if you start all active players like I did, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Sometimes they put Jalen Suggs in instead of my boy John Morant. Not that John Morant was on the bench and Jalen Suggs was in my point guard spot, and as a result, I left Drummond on my bench, who tonight he popped off for 23 boards and 3 blocks. So feels bad, man. I honestly, it feels real bad, and so I just want you guys to not feel like I feel. Yeah, I mean, these things happen. All right. Anyhow, let's move on. Waiver juice for this week. Let's talk about last week. Lou Dort. He did okay. Um, he had like his fantastic games against what Houston, which the game that he popped off in, and for good reason. I mean, Houston's defense is atrocious. But for all you Lou Dort owners, I know there are people who probably swooped him up. I would say hold on. His losses come to what Milwaukee and Boston, which have two of some of the best like defensive teams against like shooting guards in the league. Like not unexpected that he might not shoot as well. I think what I'm most concerned about is his stocks. His stocks are still not there yet. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's just not getting them. Not finding it. Um, Maybe he's not like rotating or finding the like intruding on the lane, like the open lane passes that he needs to be, or he's just not finding those right positions. But I truly believe that Dort is capable of figuring out that part of his game, and I don't see why the stock shouldn't appear sooner or later. Taylor Horton Tucker. I know a lot of gamblers went out there. Were betting on our THT, even with LeBron's comeback. And for those of you guys who bet on him early in the week, congratulations. You guys probably feasted on his phenomenal lines, but you know, King James is King James, and he will take over the ball. It's just what it is. Dennis Schroeder also had like a mild cool down. So I think last week overall, I think I would say I very lukewarm for my picks, and it's a part of what happens for streaming. But I also these picks that I'm throwing out there are ideally players that you feel comfortable with like holding for a longer period of time as well. Because I'm all about like long-term holds as well as a nice tasty pickup for the week. But I'm really trying to avoid the whole streaming thing this year just because it's very tiring, and it's a long season, and I don't want to have to pay attention every single day of the week. So picking up a good hold for a good amount of time is a preferable situation just for me because I that's just a lot of work, and we all got things to do. Honorable flops for this week's. I picked up Jalen Suggs this week. I can comfortably say that was a big ass flop, especially with Drummond's night tonight and freaking auto active picker lineup picker put Jalen Suggs in instead of Drummond. So I'm really feeling the hurt. But Suggs has been atrocious now that he is main man without Cole Anthony on the court. And I just don't think he's ready to run the offense. I don't think he's ready to take hold of the team. But Cole Anthony might be out for a little bit, so we'll see. Um, I honestly I picked him up mostly because I'm a big ass child and I wanted to change my teammate to suck my balls. But he's not doing well, so I chose not to. If he popped off, I would have in an instant. I would have changed my team name, but it didn't happen, so I didn't do anything this week. Anywho, let's move on to the this week's picks for the waiver wire. I know it's relatively dry. Um, the this week's picks it starts with Minnesota. Minnesota has some of the best defense in the league. Um, Almost at every position actually. Let me see. I'll just let you guys know real quick. NBA defense positions. We'll look at Minnesota. Let me just clickety click. Beep beep beep. Yeah, they're one of the top 15 defensive teams against point guards. And they're middle of the pack for every other position, but that puts them at a very solid like top of the league. And um I think with like the addition of Anthony Edwards, with a filled out roster like with D'Lo and Cat, um and some like really good role players. I think their team is like relatively filled out, and I think they're ready to hit their mode. And I think that's exactly what's happening. And so at the position of power forward center position, um, there is a fight currently going on between Jaden McDaniels and Vanderbilt, and I think it's mostly a question of like what type of power forward you're really trying to fill out there. Um, do you go like and take the time to really train up and build up the prospect of Jaden McDaniels, or do you go with like a 7 year, 6, 7 year veteran? I don't remember how long Vanderbilt's in the league, but I think he's been around for quite a while. Let me just check. I know he's like a no name. He's been 5 seasons. He's been around like 5-ish seasons in the NBA. So he kind of knows his way around. But I think what the with Anthony Edwards, with D'Lo, with Cat, I think offensively they're set, right? And I think what Vanderbilt provides defensively is much more valuable, especially if the defensive seat, like the sieve defense that we know Cat and D'Lo for, um, are going to be there. I think Vanderbilt will be a very good like player to kind of fill in the gaps and rotate and yeah. So I think in this fight for in Minnesota for that position, I think Vanderbilt is winning. Um, though they will still be throwing Jaden like some minutes. But if you're trying to pick up someone, I think taking a look at Vanderbilt isn't isn't a bad idea. I know he's like not very owned. I think last I checked, he was in the 20s, something like that. I think he's probably in the he's in the 30s now. Oh, he's kind of shooting up. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's putting up some like very good defensive stats. So if you're in need of some defense, I think he's a pretty good way to go. And Minnesota has a decent schedule this week. Okay, next player, Danilo Gallinari. I know a lot of people have forgot about him. Um, but for the past like week, he's been getting a lot of opportunity, and um, if to count out Gallo is would be a misstep. Hunter's out for a while, and so someone should soak up the time. At the time, I thought maybe it was gonna be Cam Reddish. But that kind of the more I think about it, I mean, I think Danilo is gonna be there kind of to score, be like a really good offensive punch, and he might throw in a couple stocks here and there. Um, and I think I mean the the Hawks offense is kind of pretty fluid. I also know he's not very owned um and I get it, but I think like Gallo will be fine. I don't think he should be 13% owned. I think that's a little too low. That's a I think definitely because of injury. I understand that like people aren't gonna feel his like feel his feel, but as his minutes ramp up, he's just gonna keep getting better, and people are gonna be like, oh, why are we not picking this guy up? And I guess you'll see. It's gonna take a little time though, but I think if they're giving him consistent minutes, I don't see why you wouldn't pick up the former EuroLeague MVP. So yeah. And then last guy, I think Lauri Markkanen was dropped by a lot of people. I didn't drop him. I put him in my injury position, but Laurie is kind of the direction that I guess the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of want to go, and the reason we're seeing a lot of um, Cavs players pop off at different times and different stretches is mostly because Laurie hasn't been in for those times and those stretches. But now that he's back, yeah, he should have every opportunity to succeed, and Laurie should be owned. I still hold to that. Okay, and I've monologued long enough. Let's just talk about my elephant in the room, okay? The Pistons, the Pistons still suck. Okay, I just want to forward with that. The Pistons, they're still kind of trash. But but Cade Cunningham and his counting stats are kind of sick. Um, and I can comfortably say, I think in terms of like fantasy, I think I was wrong. I don't think like I fully expected like there needs to be some sort of like cohesion with the team, like a team cohesion, um, and a good like 1-2 punch with Cade and another like shooting guard to kind of like get to the place he needs to really like fill out a stat sheet. But he's kind of doing it without he's like I mean the rest of the team is still, don't get me wrong, it's still a train wreck, absolute train wreck. But Cade BB, Cade is just like filling up every single stat line that you could think of, and you can't go wrong. I think at some point in his career he will be like an NBA star, like a certified all-star, um, and have a winning team. But right now, that's definitely not the case. I think the Pistons are really bad. And who's he got? Who's he got? He got what? Mad Dog. He got Beef Stew kind of backing him up. What? You got ridiculous Bayless kind of shooting below 40%. Like what's gonna happen with that? But so the team sucks. The team's ass. But Cade is kind of making me eat my words in terms of like his counting stats because he's honestly feeling him. I do want to say though, guys, I think this is a very, very, so I know that he's popping off very, very well right now. Um, I think this is a very, very good opportunity to sell high on Kay Cunningham. You might swindle some people for some very high value players who aren't doing very well. And I just want to I want you to remind you that this past week that he is what ranked top 15. He played against three of the worst defenses in the league, as well as a fourth team, namely the Golden State Warriors, who are decent, middle of the pack for defense against point guards. But they didn't have their main the one that's the like the few games that didn't have their main guy Curry, and Curry's, I mean, you guys have seen Curry. He's having a ginormous year. And he's kind of he's filling the like he fills the he kind of knows he Curry's a very smart dude. He knows when to get in the passing lanes. Without Curry there, I think of course you're gonna feast, right? You're missing like a key component on the offense and the defense. Um, and so yeah, Cade's stats are gonna look fantastic, bar none. But there definitely will be regression to the mean, and it definitely will go down. That's my take on that. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all y'all's listening and just generally putting up with my my talking and my takes and all that. So thank you guys. Again, this podcast is available on all platforms that podcasts are available, except for maybe Google. I think Google Podcasts. I don't know. And I this is gonna go on YouTube with like little infographics. So if you guys, I don't know, want to share, I do appreciate it. And then there's a Patreon if you guys want to, donate and gets like inside tips. I can like do some extra work for you, maybe pull up some extra stats. But yeah, otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. Heart. And I will see you next week. And it's probably gonna be late, so just deal with it. Hold up, I can't find my where the where the hell is my music? Hold up, give me 1 second. Oh, there it is. Okay. Have a good night, everyone, or have a good day. Have a good whatever.